Welcome to Flix List here on WHYR LP 96.9 FM, Baton Rouge Community Radio. I'm DJ Clay.
I'm DJ Chewy.
And we actually are missing RCL today.
Oh, sadsies.
Super sadsies.
Yeah.
But RCL is actually working on a movie that's filming here in Baton Rouge called Pitch Perfect.
Pitch Perfect.
And so we're very happy that he's not here because he's out making lots of money.
Making money and just, generally being famous.
Yeah, he's pretty much being awesome. As to today, we're going to review a couple of movies. We hope you guys enjoy it. I'd actually like to start by telling you that I've finally seen a movie that we reviewed before called Forbidden Planet.
Yay!
This 1956 sci-fi classic starring Mr. Nielsen, right?
Oh, Leslie.
Oh, Leslie Nielsen is awesome in it.
Got it going on.
And, no, but I wanted to talk to you because you guys reviewed it very well. It's sort of first in a couple of ways, first all-electronic soundtrack.
Yeah, first movie to ever include a robot as one of the main characters.
First movie to take place entirely off the surface of the planet Earth.
Exactly.
And boy, is it fun.
It really is.
Yeah.
1956, right?
It's so early, and the film language is always so slow in these old movies.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, folks, I don't want to set you up for anything incorrectly, but while it is of that language and certainly has their tempo,
It's a product of the time.
it's still a fun sci-fi movie.
It totally holds up.
And for those who are Mystery Science 3000 fans, you're also going to kind of like it. You're going to be able to like poke at it a little. Mm-hmm. But in the end, my goodness, it's a fun, exciting movie. They actually take on some interesting concepts in it. And it's what you want out of that era of sci-fi films. So I wanted to back up y'all's review of it now that I've finally seen it and say Forbidden Planet, is a winner in my book.
Yeah, and one great thing about it is it really does hold up. Part of the reason that it holds up so well is because sci-fi movies, especially from that era, tend to kind of put the story by the wayside in favor of this fantastical new setting that we're putting things in. But this movie actually incorporates some very good, solid plot points and just occurrences that happen throughout this story that give the story itself weight, in addition to the fantastical new element of being off of the planet Earth.
Absolutely. And the robot, Robbie the robot.
Oh, Robbie the robot.
He's so great.
I love that guy.
All right, let's review some new movies. All right, so let's start with The Fighter.
Mr. Flood, I'm his family. I'm the one fighting, okay? Not you, and not you.
2010 Oscar-winning film directed by David O. Russell. The writer was Scott Silver, and it was starring Mark Wahlberg, Christian Bale, and Amy Adams. A couple of heavy hitters there, not to use a pun. Well, yes, I purposely used the pun. All right, so pun intended.
Don't even try to work your way out of that one. That was on purpose.
Heavy-hitting actors in The Fighter.
It was a great movie. It is recent, and obviously everyone knows about it. We tend to shy away from reviewing movies that are in the box office, or something that's just a huge Oscar winner this close after its fame, because we want to expose people to newer things that they may not have heard about. But this was a great one. It's now on your Netflix Instant Queue, so it's able to be watched easily. One thing that I love about this movie is Mark Wahlberg's dedication to the role.
Well, let's talk about Mark Wahlberg real quick, just as an actor, because I haven't seen this movie yet, which now that it's on the Netflix Instant, I'm going to go home and watch it tonight. But him as an actor is he is one of the toughest guys in Hollywood as reputation. And he's so dedicated to his roles.
He is.
And old Marky Mark, he's like, I don't want to bring up like past demons for him, but this is not the guy that we thought was going to be this fabulous actor.
Yeah.
But he has turned into an dynamite A-list actor.
Absolutely. He's definitely come into his own here. I actually had the pleasure of working with him months ago on this movie called Contraband. It's a remake of an Icelandic movie, and he's actually been recently promoting it on late night TV, so it should be coming out. I highly recommend you watching it because I worked on it, and it's great. But he is a huge actor, of course, and one really cool thing was, by no means did I actually sit down and have a conversation with the guy, but he did stop by and say hello to me, and he asked me how I was doing. We had this little 10-second conversation, and he's just a really great guy. I like him a lot.
There's some actors who are actually really nice people, but very quiet and very to themselves. And because people so desperately want to talk to them, they label them as snobby or too big for their britches because they're just being to themselves. And it takes that extra special somebody to make sure that they touch everybody's life that day.
Exactly.
It's a big responsibility for these guys, but it's amazing that Mr. Wahlberg is able to do that.
Yeah, and it is a different world for them because, in my everyday life, no one expects me to stop by and ask every single person I come across how I'm doing. Nobody thinks that I'm snobby just because I'm busy.
Are you kidding me? I'm a radio DJ. Most people spend their time trying to avoid me.
I like to think that we have adoring fans, but you're probably right. Everyone avoids us.
All right, but let's talk about him in this movie then, because I heard that the relationship between him and Christian Bale is fantastic, and I can only imagine watching them together must have been a blast.
It really is. Christian Bale is just a phenomenal actor. He's another one who is so dedicated to his craft. For example, with Batman and Machinist. He did those two movies back to back. For Machinist, he had to lose a ton of weight, look anorexic, gaunt, and he pulled that off amazingly. And then either directly before or directly after, I forget which, he bulked up like crazy to play Batman, and he had to be this super ripped, superhuman figure. And so his dedication to his craft is right up there with Mark Wahlberg, maybe even, who knows, who wants to rank them, but they're both very high up there. Originally, from what I understand, I've been told that Mark Wahlberg was actually originally being asked to play the role of the older brother that Christian Bale played. Mark Wahlberg actually was really dedicated, and he firmly said that he wanted to play the fighter himself. And it wound up working perfectly. It worked out very well. The movie's a great character-driven movie. The characters are dynamic and deep, and that's one very big point that makes it stand out.
It's something that they often miss that on sports movies.
Yeah.
In that, with sports movies, like we were talking about sci-fi movies earlier, sometimes they sacrifice a little character development or story. And in sports movies, it's the same in that far too often we don't get to know these guys the way we would like to if it was a romantic comedy or something like that.
Because we're focused on the action that's taking place.
Right. Whether or not he's going to be able to win the big event.
Yeah.
And so you're saying in this one that they spared nothing, that these characters were real, visceral, affecting us.
Absolutely, and I'd say ultimately the point of the story is really more of a heartfelt, emotional one than one of a cry of victory with, waving banners and flags and saying how strong and great we can overcome. It's really about the interaction between him and his brother, the obstacles that they overcome together and between each other, and the things that they're able to achieve as they overcome their demons.
So do you have a 5-star rating for this amazingly popular Oscar-winning film?
Oh man, gosh, 1 star. No, I'd say that this was just phenomenal movie. I really can't oversell it, honestly. I have not given really a 5-star rating thus far, and I really reserve those for something that just blows my socks off so much that I can't stand but scream from the mountains about it. This movie, although it was absolutely amazing, I can't say anything bad about it. I still can't give a 5-star rating just because that's my nature. But I'll give it 4.5 stars.
4.5. That's fantastic. That's a great movie.
Yeah,
that's a great movie. All right, well, good. And I'm so excited to hear that it's available to me in my comfort of my own home. That's awesome.
You got it.
Yeah, I wish I could see all of the movies. I want to see them all.
You're getting creepy. All right, so the next movie we want to review is one that you saw, Clay, The $1 Million Hotel.
My name is Special Agent J.D. Skinner of the FBI. I know there's a killer. I know it's one of you. And whoever it is, I'm going to get you.
It was made in 2000. It was directed by Wim Wenders, and it stars Jeremy Davies, Mila Jovovich, and Mel Gibson.
And the writing credit is actually very interesting on this movie. So if you're a huge U2 fan, please listen closely. And if you hate U2, please cover your ears and go la 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 for the next 30 seconds. So the story was actually written by Bono. The screenplay credit goes to Nicholas Klein, but Bono wrote this. And if you're expecting like a normal rock and roll movie, don't.
Okay, so Bono, I mean, you're kind of I'm of the group that might be a little wary because of that.
Right.
So
I love this band, so it's actually how I discovered the movie.
Cool.
But forget everything you know about U2. Now, they do big chunks of the soundtrack, but U2 is actually a really great soundtrack band, whether you like them or not, as a band. They do big chunks of the soundtrack, and they do a fabulous job of it. But the story is really just about this group of misfits that live in a hotel in downtown Los Angeles that is basically there for people who fall through the cracks. If you're crazy, you should probably be in a mental asylum, but you don't have insurance, you end up here. If you're an alcoholic, but you're not going through the right programs, you end up here. This is a magnet for these crazy, eccentric, fun characters. And there is a murder/suicide that happens. They're not quite sure what. And the special secret agent, played by Mel Gibson, shows up to kind of solve the whodunit. And so it's a very bizarre, eccentric, strange whodunit. The director, I have to mention, Wim Wenders, is a brilliant European director. I believe he's German, but he did Stay Far Away So Close and Wings of Desire, which are the movies that the Hollywood movie City of Angels were based on. Now, again, if you hate City of Angels, don't get me wrong, I don't blame you. It was a cheesy movie. But the European movies that it was based on are beautiful, breathtaking movies.
Wow.
As is The $1 Million Hotel. It probably makes my list of the top 20 of my favorite movies of all time. I watched it again recently to sort of reassociate myself with it, as you often do, return to your favorites over and over again.
Did it hit you in a different way watching it again now?
Every time I watch it, it hit me again. In fact, what I'll say is I watched it this time with my fiance, and my fiance's big thing was the whodunit part, which I never saw this as a whodunit story. I saw it as a story about strange characters, and that no matter how screwed up we are, how dysfunctional we are, that we still feel the same things. We still fall in love. We still get jealous. They're so human and so relatable, despite the fact that they're crazy. I mean, totally legit crazy, certified. Every one of them. Okay, so this whole hotel is full of crazy people. But my fiance really attached herself to the almost film noir whodunit detective aspect of it. And so I sort of got to see it through her eyes this time, and really got into this whole other aspect of it, the film noir detective story. Because it's a dark movie. It's got funny moments, but the humor is dark. It's got sexual moments, but the sexuality is dark. And ultimately, at the end, the plot, what's driving the story, really is what happened to this guy who we never really meet in the movie. He's gone. He's the guy who's died. But he has a very rich family, and they're trying to cover up the death because it's a media outlet. And so the movie deals with concepts of love, jealousy, media blitz, which is something that U2 dealt with very well in one of their albums and several of their tours. It's a concept that they took on because this is the year 2000, and then 10 years before that, 1990, was sort of those beginning years of 24-hour news. Mm-hmm. And they were contemplating through their music, and then Bono through this script, the effects of what happens when a news organization has to fill 24 hours. And so they dabble in this concept as like an underlying theme of, one of my favorite lines in this is, he was playing stupid, but he was way out of his league. Because our main character, that's his thing. He's supposed to be mentally retarded. But that's what he says. These guys have no idea who they're dealing with. Yeah. And so you're asking yourself, who is manipulating? Is the media manipulating? Is the special agent manipulating all these screwed up people? Or are all these screwed up people manipulating everybody? And it's not a clear-cut answer, but it's certainly the questions that you ask yourself while watching this film.
So would you say that this is a film that has an agenda to communicate that, say, news media is an evil, or is it something that's just presenting an issue and letting you come to your own conclusions?
It's funny that you asked that because, I would say that U2 as a band could certainly be accused of pushing agendas.
Yeah.
But I would say, as a fan of Bono's brain, him as a songwriter and a screenwriter now, that he's actually very good when he wants to be about presenting you with an idea, as opposed to pushing an opinion upon you,
getting you thinking.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely. Cool. And so, like I said, I don't think there are any easy answers in this movie, but there's certainly wonderful concepts that an intellectual person will enjoy mulling over. Again and again.
And I think that is a mark of a very good piece of art, whether it's a painting or music or poetry. It's to present issues rather than give opinions.
Absolutely.
Also, something that can be viewed through different eyes and received in different ways is a mark of something that's very beautiful and very well created. So I'm glad to hear that this achieved that.
It certainly does. And I don't have a whole lot more to say about it, except that, whatever prejudices we may bring with us because of the people involved in it, Mel Gibson being one, Bono being another, it's a remarkable movie, and ultimately directed by Wim Wenders in a beautifully artistic way. So $1 Million Hotel is one I'll sell really hard. I actually did give it 5 stars on my Netflix. Now, we're a little harder on movies in here, but I'm still going to go ahead. This will be my first 5-star rating.
Yowza.
It's in my top 20 favorite movies of all time. You know what I mean? Like, it makes it from a guy who's watched too many movies, is still top 20. So if you'd like to patronize us for our opinion of this movie, or patronize me for my opinion of this movie, please do so at movies@whyr.org, which is our new email address. If you would like us to review a movie, if you would like to chastise us for our review of some movie we've already done, feel free to email us at movies@whyr.com. $1 Million Hotel.
And if you're nice to us, then we will respond nicely. And if you're mean to us, we're going to delete it. It's great.
I'll probably chastise you on air and then delete it. Next up is The Man Who Knew Too Little.
What are you, CIA, Mafia?
Both.
He's on a mission so secret,
You are so twisted.
even he doesn't know about it. Perfect.
The 1997 movie, directed by John Emile. You think that's right? Writer, writer was Robert Farrar, and it stars Bill Murray, who is hysterical all the time.
Pitter patter of my heart, folks.
This is even pre-super duper sarcastic, cynical Bill Murray.
Yeah.
Well, no, okay, I hate to say that. He was always kind of, but God, we love him so much.
Yeah. Oh man, he's awesome. I love that guy. It's also got Joanne Whalley and Peter Gallagher. But my thing about Bill Murray, man, I've got to say, I really don't get starstruck, working in the industry. Even before I worked in the industry, I really don't care if you're famous. It doesn't bother me. I don't think you're a special person because of it. I appreciate the work that you do for what you do, basically. But there are a handful of celebrities who I would still just go crazy over just getting to meet. One of them is Bill Murray. I love the guy to death.
We all have that little list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's that list of people you're like, I better not work with them. I might make an arse of myself. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So The Man Who Knew Too Little. This is a movie about this guy. He's an American, obviously. It's Bill Murray. And he travels to England to visit his brother who lives there. And he's just this ridiculous guy who's got a disconnect from reality, nothing psychologically, unsound, but just a guy who's in his own head enough to where he doesn't really
know what's going on around him ever.
He knows a little too little. And so he goes to visit his brother, and apparently there's this new thing going on in England at the time. I guess they're in London, I don't remember. But there's this thing going on where it's an interactive play. You can pay money, and then you go to this phone booth, and you answer a phone call, and you're now a character in this play, and there's murder, and there's mystery, and you got to figure out what's going on, and people pay to do this. And to kind of get Bill Murray out of his hair, his brother's character says, I've got a business meeting tonight. Why don't you just, I'll pay for you to do this play. It's great. It's fun. It's interactive. It's
Everybody's
great.
doing it.
You just go do that. It'll be a blast. And then we're going to go smoke our cigars later tonight and just have a blast. And so that's basically what happens. And of course, he
answers the wrong phone call.
He answers the wrong phone call and then gets involved in a real life drama that happens, and the whole time he still thinks it's all part of the play. So he's taking everything with this lackadaisical, whimsical understanding of the events around him, when in fact it's very, very serious.
Now, if this is sounding familiar to you, it's reminiscent of a movie made more recently called Date Night. Now, this is because Hollywood hasn't come up with a new idea in a decade.
We are in the era of remakes.
Right.
We've got better technology now, and everybody wants to see their favorite thing redone with technology, or so the executives think.
Right. That we do not want to promote this idea by going and watching this triple. This movie, the original here, is a blast. And I remember watching this movie and being nervous the whole time. And I'll admit that when I watched like the family vacation movies, Chevy Chase, like those movies make me nervous because at every turn something is going
goes wrong.
Horribly wrong because somebody is being an idiot.
Yeah.
And you just want to shake them.
Stop being stupid.
And this is one of those movies, but I remember loving this movie. It makes up for it with a barrel of fun.
And I think Bill Murray's one of the few who can really pull off this teeth-gritting, frustrating, out of reality kind
Idiocy.
of thing. Idiocy, yeah. And still just keep you engaged and have a blast watching it. I totally agree. It's frustrating whenever you keep watching something. Like, if you just get your head out of your butt and you pay attention to what's going around you, then, but then it's like, well, what's the plot of the movie?
But then the movie's over after 5 minutes. He picks up the
Exactly.
phone and he goes, oh, man, I think I've picked up the wrong phone call. Like, excuse me, sir. And the movie's over.
And credits roll now.
In credits roll, and they're short themselves.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And did you watch this movie when you were young?
I did not. This is actually the first time I've seen it.
Because I was excited when you said that you were going to review it, because I only watched it when I was young. And it's like the fact that you liked it like makes me like super excited, because I want to go back and watch it now, because movies that stay with you are the best.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's always a scary thing whenever you have something that you idolize from your childhood. It's scary to watch it again because you don't know if it's going to hold up.
Right. Have you grown out of this movie, or will this movie have grown with you?
Exactly. I think this is a movie, although I didn't watch it when I was a child, I feel like I would have had a fantastical love of this movie and of Bill Murray, and I think that if that were the case and watching it now, it would still hold up to me.
Something else we should say, because even the title is actually a reference to James Bond,
Yeah.
The Man Who Knew Too Much. And we actually did a whole segment recently on Bond movies, which we'd like to return to and do a part 2, because we're not done Bond yet. But we talked during that episode about how permeating the Bond experience has been on society, and this is another great example of that, in this movie there are lots and lots of fun spy cliches that they get to play with. That's the thing. Somebody's mistaken Bill Murray as an American spy, which, I can only imagine after having a 15-minute conversation with this character, you would be like, I'm so sorry, we have the wrong guy.
Yeah,
you
you
obviously
would
know
think.
nothing. But no, always
No,
with the
he's,
mishaps.
instead, he's a mastermind who's just wonderful at deception.
He's so good at deception, he's deceived himself.
Yeah.
That much fun. That's great. So do you have a 5-star vote for this?
Yeah, I do. I love it. I love Bill Murray. Automatically, that gives it a bump. I'm going to give it a 4-star.
Excellent. The Man Who Knew Too Little, the 1997 film. I'm so happy to hear. This is another one I want to rush home and watch again. That's excellent. Excellent.
The next movie we've got coming up for you is Velvet Goldmine.
From the moment Brian Slade stepped into our lives, nothing would ever be the same.
It doesn't really matter much what a man does with his life. What matters is the legend that grows up around him.
I can make you a star.
This is a 1998 movie. It was directed by Todd Haynes, and it stars Ewan McGregor, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, and Christian Bale. It was written by James Lyons, and the story was also by Todd Haynes, the director, actually.
So, first of all, this is a very young Christian Bale. It's 1998. Secondly, for those who don't know, DJ Clay here, I do the history of rock as well. I do 2 shows here on WHYR. Proud to do them both, but I'm a movies and rock and roll guy. Those are the interests that just tickle me right up and down, and I'm a little nerdy encyclopedia about it. If you ever want to have a conversation about the nature of folk rock, I'm your guy. This movie is very, very, very much a fictional account of the glam rock era in early 70s London.
Oh, how beautiful it is.
Oh, yes. Glitter and high heels and tight clothes. I mean, it's all out, and they definitely go all out with it. The movie, I am supremely knowledgeable about rock and roll films.
I would say so.
Saying that, they made a lot of really bad ones and a lot of really good ones. And so you watch a movie like Velvet Goldmine, and it has characters who existed in real life. T-Rex, Mark Bolan from T-Rex, David Bowie, Iggy Pop, Lou Reed. These people exist in this movie and are all called something else.
What?
They didn't get permission from any of these people. And if you watch the movie, you'll definitely understand why David Bowie was like, yeah, I don't want you portraying me like this. That's not favorable at all.
Yeah.
So for a movie like I'm Not There, which was a very artsy biopic of Dylan, they had to get Dylan's permission to use that amount of the story. This is a good example of a movie where they didn't get the permission, and they have augmented the story enough to
just make it anyway.
To make it anyway. To give an example, Lou Reed and Iggy Pop are the same person in this movie. Which is bizarre. David Bowie is kind of our main character, and it's got a very extraterrestrial, glammy feel to it. But if you like rock and roll, if you like glam rock, and ultimately if you like good movies, you're going to enjoy this movie. You're going to forgive its flaws, of which it has some. You're going to get into it because it definitely brings you into a world that was very specific for a lot of people. If you grew up in early 1970s England, this was a very important time, and I would compare it to growing up in America or in Seattle in the early 90s, where suddenly something that was yours, the grunge movement, suddenly something that was yours was becoming the world's. That's a very bizarre way to be in the right place and at the right time, because you get very emotionally attached. And it's about Christian Bale's character is a reporter, and he's been charged with trying to figure out who killed this, what happened to this glam rock star who faked his own death, which is interesting because, so the actual history of this is that Ziggy Stardust was a character created by David Bowie, who he became, and actually had problems with because he really became him. There was a certain schizophrenia that he reported happening, that he wasn't able to separate himself from this very fictional character that he himself had created. In the movie, the character does that. He creates a character, and he decides that the only way to separate himself from this character that's overtaken him is to kill him. So he fakes his own death. The scandal is found out about, and now 10 years later, the newspaper that Christian Bale's character works for has put him on this story. Like, that happened 10 years ago. Whatever happened to that guy? And he goes and interviews different components of this character's life, and through their retelling, we understand this guy's life. Very Citizen Kane in that way. It is a guy who's trying to find out about a guy's life through the people he knew.
Yeah. Now, since we've already talked about Christian Bale and how phenomenal of an actor he actually is, what can you say about Christian Bale's acting since this is early in his career? He's young.
And I'll say this as somebody who's not the biggest Christian Bale fan.
Okay.
I hate to say that because he is really a good actor, but I have problems with Christian Bale I don't have to go into now. But I actually like him a lot in this movie.
Okay.
Ewan McGregor is brilliant. He plays the Iggy Pop Lou Reed character, and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers plays the David Bowie character. And I will say that all three of them are spectacular. Ewan McGregor gets the gold star, though, out of all three of them. we're running out of time, but I do want to say, if you like glam rock or if you like rock and roll movies, this is a great one you've got to add to your list. All three of these guys are fantastic in it. It's filled out with a bunch of really great other characters. Eddie Izzard's in it.
Nice.
It's very English, very glam. You're going to be strutting around your house after watching this.
Well,
It's a blast.
Give us a 5-star
I
rating
will
here.
give this a 4-star rating.
Great. Glad to hear it.
It was a blast. So that concludes Flix List for this week. I'm DJ Clay.
I'm DJ Chewy.
We miss RCL terribly. Hopefully he'll be back next time. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, it's movies@whyr.org. Thanks a lot.